everyone is here. My heart welcomes your heart. Thank you. So my topic for today is about the empath and the energy sensitive people. If you know that you're an empath, and I know I'm an empath, I discovered that a long time ago. For an empath, living in this world is like being in a dark room where we are sensing and trying to describe what we're touching, what we're sensing, while the light is off. And the light only comes on when we guess what it is. That's how it's like to be an empath. It's like we're always sensing things that we don't know what it is, and it makes us nervous. Sometimes it gives us anxiety and fear because we don't know what we're dealing with. And I have to say to all of you, I know exactly how you feel. And everything that I have learned has been for me to be able to know what the energy is. So today I want to talk about some of the, I call it myths. It's a short word, but it's misunderstandings that empaths have. And the very first misunderstanding that I want to talk about is when people say that empaths or energy sensitive people are emotional, are an emotional sponge, that we just absorb the energy of others and we keep it with us. So that to me is a misunderstanding. What I have been able to sense, and when I break down this information, it's like energy. If you look at energy, if you even can visualize energy, the way that I see energy is like there are strands of light, right? So there's strands of light, and they're only attracted to each other when they have something alike, but they don't absorb into each other. They just intertwine together. So empaths think that they're absorbing the energy of others, but what happens is just like you're only holding on to that energy. You're like, you mix with that energy, you did not absorb it, you're just holding on to that energy, but only until you decide what to do with that. And one thing I have to say about energy is that energy is information. It's not emotions, it's not thoughts, it's all these different things, but at the end of the day, it's just information. So I think empaths and energy sensitive people, they feel like they're powerless when they think that they're absorbing something and it's overcoming them, and there's nothing they can do to release it. So they start trying to learn techniques to how to heal themselves or how to clear and how to protect. And it just gets to be like too much. Like you're in this wheel that you cannot get out of. You keep cleansing and clearing and protecting, and it's repetitive. And it's almost like you become close, like Rebecca was saying, in this box of limiting beliefs, because believing that you are absorbing energy is actually a limiting belief. When you see energy as information, which is what it is, it's information that you are sensing. You're not absorbing, but it's information that you're sensing and that you're retaining, because there's something that you can do with that energy, or you can choose not to do anything with that energy. So that for me it gave me the freedom that I needed as an empath in order to do what I came here to do, which is helping people. So a lot of empaths, we have this big heart and we have this natural tendency to help others. It's very natural. It comes to us. We were built that way. But when we have all this energy that overcomes us and we don't know what to do, and we think that it's just, something that we cannot do anything about, and we keep cleansing and clearing and staying away from people and trying to ground it, then we cannot help. We have to put that away first. And in order to do that, what I do is like, this is the understanding that I have. It's like, okay, so an example would be when you're just walking down the street and you hear two people talk. So you're overhearing a conversation. There's nothing you have to do about that. Nobody's asking you for help. it doesn't involve you. It's just two strangers having a conversation. So that's the same way that I tell empaths, when you sense information, because it's energy, when you sense information, the emotions of others, when you sense things from past lives, things from the future, when you're sensing that, it's almost like just overhearing a conversation. There's nothing that you have to do. You're just sensing your ability. That's number one. It's like, this is our ability. We're energy sensitive people, we're empaths, so we're going to sense energy. But when we see it as just, this is just information, then we can make that conscious choice to either do something with that information or not do anything with it. So to me, it helps a lot. That helps a lot, number one. And then the other one, it would be like thinking that I have to do something because I sense it. So I have a rule. And I know that there's a lot of people that teach you how to protect and how to ground, and there's different things that you can do with crystals and visualizing things and meditations. There's different kinds of things that you can use to protect yourself. But I only have one boundary. I only have one boundary, one way to protect myself, and that's what I want to share with you, because I think it's very helpful. It's what I use daily. I even used that when we were supposed to have the summit, and my husband was not feeling good, because I needed to discern. I needed to discern what was going on. I'm feeling everything. I'm feeling the energy of the people. I'm feeling my energy. I'm feeling the energy of my husband. I'm feeling the energy of my fears from childhood coming up. So I'm feeling everything. So I need to be able to focus and discern. And I used my own rule in order to do that. So my only one boundary is a threefold boundary. And it has to have these three elements. So if you have these three elements, then you know you are the right person to help. If one element is missing, then you can say no. You can give yourself permission to say no. You are not the one that needs to help here, because the three of them needs to be present. So number one is, you have to discern that you have all the resources available to help. So when you discern and say, yes, I have either the money or the strength or anything that you need to help, if you have it, okay, then you can help. Then the second one is, you have to know that you're healthy. And you have to check with yourself. If you're physically healthy, if you feel healthy enough to help someone, then that's the other element that has to be in there. And then the third one is very important. You have to be asked to be helped. Those words actually have to come from the other person's mouth and say, I need your help. And they have to ask you sincerely. So you really need to discern for that energy to be there. And in this, as an example with my husband, what happened with the summit, he did ask me sincerely that he needed my help. So I had the three elements in there, and that's why I helped. It helped me discern that I'm the person to help without guilt, without any repercussion. I said, yes, you asked, those three elements are there, so I can help you. So for empaths, it's very important to know that there's some things that help you in your journey, that you have learned how to clear and how to ground and all those things. But at the end of the day, we really need to learn how to discern the energy that we're feeling. So another thing that is very important to empaths is, we not only sense the energy of people, we also sense the energy of everything. We can sense the energy of the past lives. When you're in front of a person, sometimes you can sense what happened in their childhood, or what happened in a different lifetime, or what's going to happen to that person in the future. So it's important to know that what you're sensing is the spectrum of that person. It's not what that person is in this present moment, is what that person can be or what that person was, what the person is capable of in a positive way, and what that person is capable of in a negative way, because we all have shadows. We all have shadows, and we also have, our Christ consciousness. So we are always in that spectrum as well. And empaths and energy sensitive people can sense that. So discerning would be the number one thing that empaths have to learn. And sometimes another misunderstanding is that empaths think that they have to start learning healing modalities. And learning healing modalities is good. It teaches you how to be a good healer, but it's still, you still need to translate the energy that you're sensing into something that you can put into words. So knowing that you're always sensing a spectrum can help to not go into judgment against someone, thinking that, that person is a bad person because you're sensing their shadow. Or sometimes we get fooled thinking that a person is a good person because we can sense who they can be in the future after they deal with their shadows and all that, because we can sense that. So knowing that we're always sensing the spectrum and in discerning what that person is at the moment is very important for an empath.
Thank you, Mariela.
You're welcome. And one more thing that I want to say about empaths is just that very first one, knowing that energy is information, can help you so much. Because one thing that in 2020 has revealed is like all these people that are bringing out their shadow side to be healed. And like I said, like there's nothing we have to do in order to fix anyone or help anyone. But if we feel called to do it, we can do it even from the comfort from our homes. We don't have to engage with a person one-on-one or be in a big crowd in order to help people. We can just do it through our hearts, because in the same way that we sense energy about people and about things and about everything else in the world, we can send it out in the same way. So empaths are very good. Now with 2020 going on, we're even better at helping humanity just through our hearts, sending that energy out to the world, so that we can, because we're sensing everything, the dark and the light, we can just call for that light to bring over to the world as well. That's how we can support in this in our community. Mm-hmm.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much. Love all of that information. Appreciate it. So we were thinking about some we can't ask questions, but we have a question that a lot of your clients ask you. So what about spiritual energies? What about spirit energies and spirit attachments? And how can empaths or energy sensitive people protect themselves from them?
Okay. That's a two answer. Mm-hmm. It's a two answer. So when something that I learned that is good, because of we sense the spectrum, that's very important to know. For me, it was very liberating to know that I'm just sensing the spectrum. And sometimes we may think that we're sensing an entity energy, but it's also that we're sensing, it could be that we're sensing someone's darkness as well. But because we don't know how to discern, we think it's an entity energy, because it's very present. It's in our presence. It's very palpable. Okay. So the one thing that I say to people is, like, before you think that you're sensing an entity, or that you have an attachment, an entity attachment in you, you really, really, really have to know what your surroundings are, who's around you. I had an experience with somebody who was going through a lot of depression, and I was sensing all that, and it was a lot of darkness that I was sensing, and it was so much that it became physical inside me. It felt like, like I was having an attachment in me, but it wasn't that. I was just sensing something from that person, that what that person was going through. And of course, the heart of the empath is the most compassionate being inside of us. So we want to help, and we have that heart calling for us and say like, you should help, and this is where our discerning has to come in to say like, are we the person to help? And we have to set that like I said, it's just one boundary that I have, but you have to set it and continue practice at it so that you can become good at saying no and giving rest to your heart, because it's the heart that gets stressed when you cannot help. And another thing is with entities and attachments, because I come from the Buddhism is my foundation. In Buddhism, we talk about attachments, our own addictions. One thing that I learned that helped me a lot was that in the same way that we have attachments, real spirit attachments can attach to us when we had the same kind of attachments that that person had when it was alive. So when we surrender to heavy attachments like alcohol, sex, drugs, things like that, when we are overcome by them or we're not conscious about those attachments that we have, it's a possibility that we can have an entity attachment, but not because it wants us, but it's taking some kind of pleasure in that pleasure that we find in that attachment that we have. So it is important to keep understanding more ourselves and what brings us complete joy, what brings our joy out, as opposed to finding little glimpses of happiness jumping from one thing to another, and it becomes an attachment or even an addiction. So that's important for me to say about attachments or entities, and empaths thinking that they have entities, because I know that that's actually one question that I get asked a lot, and I have felt it as well in me, that something one is trying to overcome. But it's because we sense everything. We can even be sensing thoughts that another person sent out that can be very malicious, but they're only thoughts. So again, knowing that this is just information, and at any time we can just disengage and say like, well, there's nothing I can do, or there's nothing I want to do about that information. So I can just toss it in the garbage, like, like yesterday's newspapers. Like, that's it, I'm done with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. So
Yeah.
I'm sure people are curious, how did you choose your path?
Oh.
How did you know it was the right path for you?
The path keeps choosing you to be different. I would say that. I would say go what calls you the first or the most. Go with what calls you the most, and be open to be called to be something else, something different. Because I know I chose my path of being a healer in the beginning because of that same misunderstanding, thinking that, oh, now I'm an empath, so I should be a healer. And in a way, it helped me. So everything becomes a stepping stone in your path. That's what I've learned. It's like, maybe I never wanted to be a healer. Maybe I wanted to be, let's say, a coach, but I couldn't be there yet because I needed to heal things on myself. So I chose the healing path because that's what called me at that time. But as I keep going into my path, I chose healing, energy healing, and I chose mediumship. I chose all these different things, but because I was called to that, because there was something in there, not so much because I wanted to. I remember just letting the just life unfold to see what calls me. And even now that is changing. It's like I keep seeing glimpses of my future. And like you said, like, those limiting beliefs sometimes hold you back to say like, no, but I'm a healer, I should always be a healer. But then when you release that, it's like, oh, I can be something else. And there's a fear that you're losing your identity, but at the same time, you're gaining something else. You're gaining another identity that may take you even further into the future, into a destiny that that you wanted from the beginning, and you couldn't get there without the stepping stones that you chose first. So it's always good to be open and be listening. And, you know, everybody, I think everybody has said that, like, we have to truly build that relationship with our spirit. We have to build that relationship with ourselves. Meditation, the dreams, the angels, like everything is here to help us truly. So why not say yes? Okay, I say yes to what my heart wants to do, and I accept all this help that is here present for me. And it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to release my identity. It's okay to find out that I have limitations and forgive myself and give compassion to myself and forgive everyone who put those limitations in me, and just continue. And you just keep liberating and growing and deepening, and life can truly become a beautiful place to be, even with everything going on in 2020 and all the changes that are happening. You can create your own little dimension where you live with that feeling, that joy that we truly have inside, and that peace that we truly have inside from the inside out. And from that, like, if we take care about ourselves first, then help our loved ones and help our community and the world, and keep expanding the universe. So to me, that's what's more important than just choosing a path, because the path is, it's so far, it's so close, and but you do need that journey to take it far into the future.
Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, so tell us about your programs and how we get in touch with you.
Yeah, so you get in touch with me by going to revealinghealinglight.com. And at this moment, I have a program. It's actually the Empath Mastery Program that I'm mentoring one-on-one. It's a 13-week program. And what I spoke today is a little bit of what's included in that. So basically, it's about, the concentration is on boundaries, grounding, focus that has to do with manifestation, and also discerning. That's the biggest part of everything, knowing what this energy is, not, you know, and saying like, is this a transformation energy? Is this energy of my previous life? Is this an energy of the future trying to come to me? Like, discerning is the biggest part of my program. So just get in contact with me, and it's a one-on-one. And right now I have 8 spots open, starting in next week in December. Yes.
Okay, exciting. Thank you. All right, so what is one main recommendation you have for people moving forward, a best practice that they can use to start their healing and transformation moving forward?
Like Tammy said, say yes. That's important. Saying yes. And journaling dreams. Dreams are important. And if you cannot remember your dreams now, you will remember soon. But really saying it out loud, that you want to get to know yourself better. Even if you're afraid to say, like, I'm afraid to say to the universe that I want to get to know God, or, you know, what God is. Like, just say yes to you. That's the main thing. Say yes to you to get to know yourself better.
Beautiful.